Coming up on this fun-filled and informative episode of the Grumpy Gits, we talk to Masterchef semi-finalist and autism advocate Vanessa D'Souza about all things Masterchef and what it's like being autistic and having to cope with food issues and a demanding TV schedule. We talk to Gavin Neate, the man behind Welcome, a web app designed to help any public forum meet the needs of all people regardless of ability, and how Welcome are changing the face of representation in politics. All this in our usual bonanza of mayhem and madness. We'll see you next Tuesday, and we relive our favourite moments from the Disability Expo. So grab a brew, find a chill zone, and enter the madcap world of the Grumpy Gits, and remember, don't be grumpy alone.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever in the world you are watching this, and welcome to another fan-dabby dozy episode of the Grumpy Gits. I'm your glorious host, Adam Pearson, leading you through this cavalcade of carnage and disability conversation, but I am not alone. Oh, no. As always, I am joined by three bastions among men to come with me on this epic journey. Will we get the ring to Mount Doom? Let's find out. Up first, if you hear whimpering in the background, it might be his children, or it might be his new dog, Chris Lee-Smith, Puppy Dad. Woo!
And they called it Puppy Love.
I'm so stressed. I can hear it whimpering even now. I'm trying to stop myself from going in and saying shut up. I'm so kind-hearted. It's a fucking puppy, and that's the mood I'm in tonight. Like,
you know what? Do you know what I find so interesting about what you just said already? Like, It's like, whenever you get a new puppy, you always want, when you hear it whimpering, you're like, I need to go and see the puppy and make sure it's all right. Chris is like, whenever I hear it whimpering, I just want to volley.
Throw the mouse. Just throw the mouse and it's fine.
It is the sweetest thing. It really is. But the whimpering and that, somebody's got to fucking listen the first time, and it seems like this dog, isn't it? So I'm stressed. I'm really fucking stressed.
He's not even had it. This is a matter of hours, guys. Hours he's had this dog. Not even days, weeks.
Last day, and I picked it up at 4:30. That's how long I've
Can I ask, is it scared of eyebrows?
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe. Although it fell asleep on me earlier, which was nice.
Yeah. Usually when I'm in your company, I fall asleep as well. So it's fine.
Having spoken to your wife, that's your love life, isn't it?
As I said, 7 seconds.
Shots fired.
40 minutes.
Did I tell you I was in a mood tonight? Fucking hell, you two are brave, aren't you?
I'm the nice one, and that's a problem. Also joining us is a man who is sponsored by the fallen state and thinks the kind thing to do is to buy people quadruple Jack Daniels and Cokes and not tell them. Dr. Cadburn, how are things?
They're good. Went to the Fallen State last night. Was a fantastic time.
Watching your reflection disappear again.
And enjoyed you getting slowly more and more ploughed on quadruple bourbons and cokes.
It was a weird one because I thought I was like, I've only had 4. I'm a little bit wobbly. And then me, you, and Chris are talking to Isaac. He was that drunk. He went to fist bump a man with no arms.
That was an awkward moment.
Oh my God.
What I like is that you were quite happy accepting a pint glass and not questioning how much bourbon was in it.
I just thought it was the hotel being the hotel, like just trying to squeeze those pennies out of you.
Actually, it was good to watch.
We'll get into it more as the show goes on, but glad you had a good time at the Fallen State. And finally, here was the man voted most likely to get his penis caught in his zipper at Disability Expo. Marty Dugan, you reprobate. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I think that was the only thing that I was voted most likely to happen to me. That
you were voted for everything. It didn't matter how degraded or debauched the question was. You were voted.
That's
on the BBC. He must be perverted.
Today's been good, but I don't want to talk about today. I want to continue to talk about the expo actually, because that 2 days of pure disability joy was like an education. It was an education for me, and it was too much of an education for others. Do you know, it's like oversharing is something that when I sit back and I think about the Disability Expo, I don't think about, the amazing innovations that people are coming up with. I don't think about the house that's built for disabled people. I don't think about all these amazing charities. I don't think about even the Grumpy Gits. I think to myself, you need to learn to shut your mouth, Martin.
There we go. For legal reasons, we are moving on to our regularly reoccurring segment. See you next Tuesday.
I'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm going to start first when it comes to oversharing, right? Because that's what I've been thinking about recently.
Why?
So my see you next Tuesday question for you is, what is the worst bet? So it's either what's the worst bet that you've been a part of, or what's the worst thing you've done for a bet. I'll kick off.
I bet, man. I don't make silly bets.
Well, I'll kick off, right? I'll kick off with one. Right?
All right.
So when I played basketball, I pplayed for a team called the Lothian Phoenix, and there was a guy who was one of our coaches called Gary. Now, Gary was a man who could put food away, right? And do you remember, when you're at the services and is it called
Little Chef,
right? Little Chef, we're in a Little Chef, and I don't know if you remember, but Little Chef used to do an Olympic breakfast, and it's unbelievable in size. And I bet Gary that he couldn't finish an Olympic breakfast. Anyway, Gary did finish an Olympic breakfast.
That's a great story and brilliantly told.
Anyway, that would be interesting if you had to give him a hand job or something like that.
No, I didn't have to give him a hand job, no, because no one could survive that after eating an Olympic breakfast. He had to go for sleeps. I mean, just to put into context, this Olympic breakfast, man, it was like that Man versus Food program where he's like, my bet was to go around the whole car park of the services, and every sort of 15 seconds I had to take an item of clothing off and get louder. At the beginning, I was just going, woo, takes my t-shirt off, woo, it just gets louder, and that's like my other t-shirt comes off, I get even louder and louder. By the end, I had nothing on, man, and I was screaming like this, just screaming like a fucking crow. Speaking of crows, I had to hide my tassel in case one of them came down to attack it, because it was right out there in broad daylight for everybody to see. And that's my story of Little Chef.
So little in Little Chef, yeah?
You haven't said that now, had you? Adam, I got nothing, mate, because like I said, I made surefire bets. I wasn't silly when I was younger.
Yeah, I got nothing on this one.
Basically, what you're trying to tell me is basically what you're saying is you're fucking boring, mate. That's what you're basically fucking saying. And I bet Gary that he couldn't finish an Olympic breakfast. Anyway, Gary did finish an Olympic breakfast.
That's a great story and brilliantly told.
I once bet a friend that if Aston Villa beat Man United in the FA Cup fourth round, I'd dress up and sing as Avril Lavigne at our sixth form Christmas soiree. That happened.
Is there any video footage of this?
Yeah. It's out there. I also once lost a bet where I had to go to an open mic comedy club in New York and deliberately bomb.
I don't believe
in
that.
The state. I know what you're doing, Chris, and you're not funny.
That's what they said, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, I hope that dog ruins your family.
Go on.
And so I sat back and I sort of like read the room, and it was sort of like super woke stoner humour. So I was like, all right, read the temperature, crack the knuckles. Alex is like, you've got 3 minutes to bomb. And I'm like, I'll do it in 20 sequins. Yeah. And they're just like, no, you won't. And I'm like, what?
Have they never seen your show before?
They go, up next is Adam. And then I walk on stage like a pint of their local beer. I take a sip and go, ah. Oh. And then just 80 anuses snapshot at once. Audible booing. Not even a groan. Just straight up booing. Duncan, Chris, any see you next Tuesday question?
Who is the most hung up from 1 to 4, 1 being the most, on gaining fame?
So I'm going to go down and sort of from least, the one that wants it the least, to the one that wants it the most.
Jeez, I wonder what way this is going to fucking go.
He's still burning after your last See You Next Tuesday question, isn't he?
So I'm going to say that number 4 sits firmly with Dunks. That's my thoughts. The reason for that is because I feel like out of all of us, you've got that, you sort of have the least ego out of all of us.
Well, I'm the one who puts the least effort into looking presentable in any way, shape, or form, and therefore can't be that interested in fame.
I liked your beard trim and all your other stuff for the show, mate. I thought
all the other stuff. What other
All the other stuff,
What
whatever
was that,
it is
Mr.
you did,
Eyebrows?
the back waxing, the sack waxing, the crack waxing.
That was a kinky night with the missus. Don't go into that.
Still did the job.
rough.
Still silky smooth.
It's like a dolphin.
And he squealed like one as well. It's a safe word.
Number three and number two is like a tie between Chris and myself. So I think that Chris likes to be well known in different ways. Chris loves being a grumpy git, and he loves the fact that people loves the grumpy gits. So we're at Disability Expo. Chris loves to schmooze and get to know people. It's all about the people and speaking to everybody and letting everybody know that the grumpy gits are here. We've arrived. That takes a certain amount of like wanting to be recognised, doesn't it?
I want people to just fucking listen.
We're not talking about your dog anymore, mate. All right, we're talking about you. And we're talking about your ego. We're talking about your hunger.
What's your side? Why do you make the joke?
Well, I can't really deny it, mate, because I'm on the telly box every once in a while, and I believe that if you're somebody who can stand and talk to a camera when no one else is there, then you've got a little bit of a weird ego about you. But I believe number one sits firmly with our boy with Pikachu on his t-shirt.
Why do you think it's Adam though?
Oh, come on. Do we even have to explain it? The last time we were at Expo, how many names has he dropped in the past, 2 weeks about who he's been for pints with? He was on the Weakest Link. He's been on Masterchef. He's been on TED Talks. He's on the Grumpy Gits. He's been on bloody Mastermind. He's been, name a TV show that lad has not been on. He's like the Katie Price of telly.
I was just expecting he's got a bit of an ego to be your answer. Not
just goes without saying, man. He's a guy who's as soon as he's invited to a movie premiere, he's like
going.
That's fine. Basically, Adam just wants to be unbelievably famous. He lies in bed at night thinking about it. He goes and has a shit and he thinks about it. When he's at work, he thinks about it.
I have got quite the ego on me.
Yeah.
Adam, what's your answer?
Yo, well, here's how arrogant I am, Chris. Sometimes when I'm having sex with Roxy, I shut my eyes and pretend I'm masturbating.
That's actually really good. That's funny, man.
So when we tell you to go fuck yourself, you're going.
It's not
Whose hand is this attached to? It's me.
Yeah. So I think I agree. I'm going to put Duncan fourth because of the way the question was worded. Who's most hung up on becoming famous? I'm going to put myself third because I don't need to become already famous.
I like that. I admire that.
Martin and then Chris.
I'm most hung up on becoming famous.
Yeah.
Go
You're
on,
walking around Expo with your shades on. You're shades indoors, like some kind of fucking Top Gun tribute band.
I did what?
You're wearing shades indoors.
Martin batters you for 4 minutes straight, and you decide to take aim at me.
To be fair, Chris, you do wear sunglasses indoors.
I did wear shades indoors. I did.
Yeah.
But I like the polarized because it just brings everything into focus. Also, I was talking to Duncan about it in the car.
I don't mind the shades so much. It's when he puts his music on his phone and puts it in his pocket. It's on the Top Gun soundtrack. This drives me nuts.
Are you saying I did that?
When you introduce yourself as the danger zone, we're in.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Sorry, did I tell you my name's Chris? I meant Maverick. Sorry.
Yeah, you did it in the socks. You put your shades on, played Kenny Loggins, went up to the bar, ordered and went.
By Kenny Loggins.
Then you tap the Grumpy Gits logo on your t-shirt and there I am.
I've never ever seen someone in real time act so well in slow motion in my life. It was incredible.
It was when he grabbed the microphone and started singing "You Never Close Your Eyes Anymore." It was a moment.
So I made Top Spot from fucking fabricated stories. Is that what this is?
No, it's purely about wearing sunglasses indoors.
I'm coming for you, Adam. I'm fucking coming for you.
It's all right. This is why you'll never be famous. Anyway, Duncan.
What's it that go? What's it?
You know what, Chris? You've become a right mardy bastard since you got that dog.
I don't know why I'm so angry tonight. I fucking took my medication this morning. I don't know why I'm so angry.
Maybe because subconsciously you haven't had fame and fortune yet.
Oh, don't fucking start. Honestly.
Right, Duncan, hurry up.
I'm going to go me, Chris, Adam, then Martin. And I'm picking Martin because nobody else tells the stories you do without wanting to get some form of notoriety.
Do you think I tell stories for notoriety, mate? You can. What notoriety? Tell me one thing that I've gained.
With the finger-licking story, you were willing to tell everybody who was prepared to listen the truth about that, and it was just ongoing.
What can I say, Duncan, man? I'm a journalist at the end of the day. So
if there's a story you're going after it, even if it involves yourself.
Yeah. I'm the easiest target I know.
There's some pride in your work there. It's like, I don't care what happens.
You know what, Duncan? I would say, like, to be honest, I was sat watching Country File just then before we came on and did this recording, right? I turned it on and it was a guy presenting, and then Sammy Kinghorn, the Paralympian wheelchair racer, was presenting it. And the first thing that came to my mind was, fuck off. Like, why is she doing it and I'm not? That was the first thing that came to my mind, because she's in a wheelchair, I'm in a wheelchair, right? So I was like, well, that job's fucking mine.
Martin Dugan putting the entry file.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't there an O in country? Nope.
So
You've recently bought your family a dog, and you haven't thought through that eventually it's going to die. What are you going to tell your children when the dog dies? Duncan, we'll come to you first.
Oh, we've got a hamster, which life expectancy of 2 years. So we've already had several like fish and stuff like that. And it's just, to be honest, it's a good way of explaining mortality to kids and helping them understand the part of the life cycle. So to put a very dull answer to a question that's supposed to be pointed, we're just honest.
What about you, Martin? What are you going to tell your kids when the dog dies?
So my daughter Jessica actually did experience a dog death early on. We had a dog that lived next door, beautiful retriever called Woody. He was beautiful. And then one day his back legs went when he was playing frisbee with his owner. That was it. And Jessica was very little, they were very close. And I put on All Dogs Go to Heaven by Disney. That was it.
You didn't do anything. You said, just watch this and explain it.
And there was dialogue. There was sitting down, Jess, Woody's died. And then the long stare. And then just like put on the tape.
I love that with the
Jackson,
May and Hammond. If one of them ever goes, that's what they've got to do, is announce each other. Unfortunately, whoever it was died in the last episode. Moving on.
The proper news journalist's reaction to it, like in breaking news now, Woody has died. And in other news, way moving. It's just the way it needs to be done. You've just got to, just kill it. Just get it done.
And what about you, Chris? How are you going to break the news?
He's pissed me off, so I drop-kicked him to the moon. Because that would be more believable, I think.
Yeah, I drop-kicked him to the moon is more believable than the dog's died.
Have you seen how angry I get?
Yeah.
Maybe the outer atmosphere then. Maybe. All right.
Not content with killing mice, you're getting bigger and bigger mammals now.
So. Setting his sights higher.
Yeah, won't be long until I go over to human.
I mean, did you just come up with that question, Adam, because Chris has got a new dog?
Yeah.
One that is dark as...
Have you met Adam?
Hey.
Duncan.
What is the worst, most embarrassing situation either a partner or a child in your life has put you in? Or co-worker?
My daughter Jessica's never really put me in any embarrassing situations. I suppose, like, I'm going to turn this question around a wee bit, because my partner Amy never puts us in embarrassing situations. I'm the one that puts her in embarrassing situations. Plus, Jessica's pretty sound as well. So, but what I used to hate is the dreaded sort of weekends when Jessica was like at nursery or just starting sort of primary school. Her mum was a hairdresser, so she was always away on a Saturday and Sunday. So I would, Jessica's got a party this weekend. Oh man, I hated it. And especially when it was at somebody's house, right? And I remember like walking out to this person's house and it was really posh. And I never walked in, obviously wheeled in. It was really posh. And then Jessica, they served us cucumber sandwiches. Like, unbelievable. Who does that? And then Jessica turned around to me and says, Daddy, you don't like cucumber sandwiches, do you? Because you said it was only for posh people. And I was like, Jessica, I didn't say that. I want you to go play tag with the buses. So that's the most embarrassing situation my daughter's ever put me in.
Adam.
I don't think anyone's ever dropped me in it because I'm normally quite good at dropping myself in it. Right? I don't need people to put me in situations. I am the situation. No one does that to me because they know better. So I tend to do it to people. So year one of uni, me and one of my housemates, Lindsay, went to Asda's to just do a shop. And I hadn't done anything to Lindsay yet. I've been working my way through all the housemates, just trying to work out where the line is. No, but with Lindsay, we went to Asda's. I went to the front of the shop and said, I've lost my mum. But I put on like real sort of like disabled guy, proper good doctor disabled guy voice. And after they paged her, would Lindsay Taylor please come to the front of the shop where her disabled son is waiting for her? And then she walked to the front of the shop, not looking happy. And I yelled very loudly, Mummy, I was so scared, where did you go?
There's actually something really sinister about that. And there's a real sinister edge to that story.
That's the quickest way to cut yourself off from sex. To pretend to be your girlfriend's son. It's just
what I really like about it is no one in the store questioned it.
Yeah.
You were really exposing ableism. What you were doing was a service.
Yeah. Who would question it though? He says it and they go, no, you're not. That's not your mum. It's a disabled, potentially kid or young adult.
Hello, Pearson. I know your mother. And I
You've definitely got your mother's devilish smile, that's for sure. It's definitely you.
If somebody did question it, Adam, would you have carried on the facade?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been amazing. Calling out his lines. His charm mode.
Chris, what about you, man?
When I was 16, I worked in the Winter Gardens. We had this kind of coffee window. There was a few guys in the kitchen who were a bit like pranksters. I remember these two good-looking birds came up to the window, right? And they order their coffees, and I go to pass out like the card machine and stuff. And the guys in the kitchen came up behind me with this giant fucking empty cardboard roll and proceeded to try and push me out the window. That was probably the most embarrassing thing, because have you ever like fallen like almost where your thighs are, like, and then you go rigid and you like kind of. That's what it was like. That's how bad it was. And of course, they legged it, and the birds thought I was just falling out of the window and looking like a right prick while doing it.
And did you make any noises?
I think it was oi, because I knew it was them.
Oi?
But as you say oi, and towards the end of oi, you get really high pitched because they're trying to put it up your arse. That's probably the worst thing that's been done to me.
Billy Connolly talks about that, doesn't he? The initial shock reaction is nothing like you want to sound. You always compensate for it after. It's like, what the hell is that?
We sat down with the wonderful Vanessa D'Souza of Masterchef fame. I specifically requested to not do this interview because it would give me Vietnam flashbacks, and they made me do it anyway. I was brave. I struggled through. There were no cauliflowers. No, Vanessa did really well. Really fascinating interview, wasn't it, Duncan?
It was. I really respect what she's doing. I think the definition of authentic. She's really trying to represent her authentic self as she, uses the situation she's been presented with MasterChef, and it's actually trying to make a difference in the lives of particularly neurodivergent people. And I think it's awesome.
So we are going to throw to us in the past with Vanessa D'Souza. Take it away, us in the past, in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, us from the future, and I am past Adam Pearson, joined by my right-hand man, past Duncan Casburn, with a very, very special guest. I don't want to do this one. Not because of the person, but because of the subject. Because I get Vietnam flashbacks whenever I have to discuss this fucking program. However, everyone was ill, I've been told. I don't believe them. I think it's a stitch up. But anyway.
Had they been eating your cauliflower?
They've been eating my cauliflower. Too soon, bro. Too soon. Anyway, enough about me. We are joined by an actual competent master chef, Vanessa D'Souza. Hey! How's it going, Vanessa?
Good, thank you. Trying to recover from the MasterChef process, which I'm sure you can relate to.
Oh, he only lasted a week.
I was there for a day and a half.
I can't say I'm envious because I was in it for like a good 3.5 months. It honestly took over my life.
So as someone who's done it and knows the pressure and the intensity and the schedule, no one thinks about the schedule. They just look at the cooking and go, oh, I could do that. No. What possessed you to apply?
What possessed me? I've always really loved the show. It's an area of special interest of mine. And cooking has just been such a part of my, I guess, autistic journey. You know, I have such severe food sensory sensitivity. Certain textures are not tolerable. I spent probably the first 15 years of my life only eating beige processed foods. So I actually got involved in cooking because, well, I didn't trust my parents. They kept trying to sneak vegetables into my food. All trust was lost. And so I just thought, let me cook it myself. It's the only safe way to know what you're getting. And it's presented in the way that I prefer it.
That makes so much sense. My daughter, as everyone will know, my daughter's autistic, and actually, funnily enough, she's getting a special interest in cooking as well, which is risky from my part because you kind of have to do the whole, oh, it's lovely, yeah, you know. But she's getting pretty good. That whole sensory side of thing, I think, is something people don't think about. I mean, how did that present itself when you're dealing with something like MasterChef?
And it's really interesting because actually when I applied for the show, obviously part of me wants to get as far as I can. So I was in two minds of, I obviously told them on the application form I was autistic. But if you're talking about your food and your inspirations, I actually wasn't very clear with the production team as to whether I would be true to myself. I was like, oh, I'm really inspired by all these different countries I've been to. And then when it came to the fact that I was on the show, I thought to myself, God, what a lie I'm going to have to live on national TV, that my world is not going to end if my rice touches my curry. And I wasn't okay with that. You know, you're going on national TV, and I was only diagnosed at the age of 36, so almost 2 years ago. I've spent my whole life lying and masking. This is my time to just be me. I think producers are really shocked at, like, why is she deconstructing all her food? Why is she now saying that she doesn't want things touching? You know, I'm not eating them. I could have put my foods in a way that I don't want to eat them because, you know, John and Greg are eating them, not me. But I chose to take the opportunity to really showcase and explain my sensory sensitivities and how I like to present food. So yeah, it was challenging, especially when you get quite far into the competition. You almost run out of ways to present food in innovative ways. So I used a tiffin to separate my rice and curry, and that was presented in a very beautiful way. I did a thali, which is lots of different bowls on a plate. And I just did one where it was a plate with lots of different sides, and you can eat the food the way you want to eat it. But obviously there are challenges when you come to challenges and group surprise tasks and invention tests and things of such sort. And I really, really needed to work, I'd say 10 times as hard as everyone else, just to have a coping strategy to be able to even go into that room.
Was there one particular task where you got there, saw what the task was, and just went, oh no?
Yeah.
Like your first task.
To me, it was the cauliflower. As soon as I saw that cauliflower, day one, task one, I thought, I'm going home. I didn't say it out loud.
I think the kitchen stuff I was quite prepared for because it's what you see on TV. I was prepared for the environment. And on day one, you can kind of, because it was not all of us cooking at the same time. I was lucky enough to be, I think, maybe 5th or 6th cooking. So it gave me time to adjust. But further down the line, when we got to semi-finals, we were thrown into a fire college and were told to cook for 120 people in a kitchen that I wasn't allowed to see beforehand, and with ingredients and team members I'd only met once. That was really tough. I really wanted to walk out halfway through, and despite extreme editing, you still see me having a crying nervous breakdown halfway through. They did cut it so that you don't see me crying into the cabbage, which FYI makes it more delicious. But
it's a dressing, right?
Yeah, in all honesty, it was one of the challenges. I was ready to quit the show after that. I felt like I was done, and I think that was the start of my steady decline. I was just ready to leave. It's that internal battle where you're so close now. There's only, at the time, I think 8. I could get into the finals here. There's not many of us, and there's not many challenges left. But at the same time, I'm so broken. I'm ready to go.
You had that self-awareness, I guess, that I'm pushing it too hard now.
Yeah, and it didn't help that we lost that task, and then the next one was an invention test. So it was like I couldn't worry about the things coming after us, which was super important because you're looking for a place in the finals here. I was just thinking, how am I going to find a coping mechanism to deal with an invention test when you don't know what's coming? So do I prepare for meat, fish, vegetarian, like a random challenge? I don't know. And actually, it's something that I couldn't have prepared for. It was a challenge of leftover tins and jars. So I never would have been able to predict that.
Something that you alluded to just before, and it's something that I know that you're quite open about, is that masking issue. For anyone watching who doesn't understand masking, basically a lot of neurodivergent people, a lot of the time, especially females, it's a much stronger trait within female neurodivergence, but it spans all neurodivergent people. It's basically where I need to fit in. I got to sort of repress my authentic autistic self because I'm in a situation where it doesn't fit, or I don't feel comfortable to be myself. How was the masking process through something like, because you're on camera as well, you're not just masking in front of people, I'm guessing there's the extra dimension of knowing that you're being filmed. How did you deal with that? I mean, what was that process like?
How did I deal with it? I probably didn't. I was at the point of burnout actually after filming, that I just had to take the rest of the year off, and I took a very expensive long holiday and chose not to cook or see people for the rest of the year. I think in the moment I didn't anticipate. You think I'm fine in front of a camera. It's not as intrusive of people as people think. You go about your business and it's a camera, but what I didn't anticipate is there is like 50 odd people in that room. You've got sound men, cameramen, light men, floor men. I don't know. Every single person you can think of that has a random job will be in that room. There's lights you can't control. There's sounds you can't control. You're in a studio, so you're in very, very hot conditions, and I can't regulate my body temperature very well. I am always cold, and then before you know it, you're too hot, but I can't take off the clothes that I want to take off because they're my comfort blanket. And that's how I started the day, and that's how I will end the day. Where at home I might be comfortable enough if I'm very hot to take my jumper off, you cannot do that on TV. You have to have continuity. You cannot look like you've changed outfits. There's a couple of scenes that are filmed over, 2 days, and you have to wear the same outfit, which is fine for me. But in my head, I'm thinking, what happens if I spill stuff on it? Shall I buy 3 of the same jumper just in case? And you'll find that halfway through the episode, I'll start off the show like this, and then it'll be like this because I'm too hot and Twitter was going mental, basically. There were people watching the show saying, oh, there she goes, Vanessa, pretty Vanessa. Their words, not mine. Shows a bit of shoulder and gets through. Greg's looking for his new wife, so she only got through because she's autistic and she showed some shoulder. Clearly, by the response of Twitter, I should have my own, like an OnlyFans for my left shoulder now. I'm pretty sure it will do very well.
You know what I've signed up to? Is that a different Vanessa?
Vanessa
and her left shoulder.
That would be such, there's some weird faction out there that's shoulders. It's all about shoulders.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, I mean, we're going into a cost of living crisis, so it might be my next thing because it obviously did very well on Twitter. But yeah, it goes to show that you can be yourself, or you can try and find a coping mechanism to your best ability in a situation, but you'll still never be able to nail it, ever. And masking is incredibly tiring. I talked to my other contestants. We have a WhatsApp group from our Heat 1 competition. I said, can I just ask, when you walked into that MasterChef kitchen, what exactly were you thinking? What were you feeling? And basically, their answers were all the same. It was a bit of nerves, super excitement. I was so, proud of myself for being there. And I thought, I wish that was all that was going through my mind. I had everything going through my mind. Why are there so many plug points on the floor? Can the sound man hear me wee? Oh my gosh, my stomach is rumbling. Why is it so bright in here? Oh my gosh, there's no extraction fan. So what happens if I'm cooking something and somebody else is cooking fish next to me? What will I do? Because I'm not now getting notice on a blender going off, a NutriBullet going off, all of these things. Plus, the MasterChef kitchen has like super reflective surfaces.
Yeah.
It is metal countertop, which is crazy because with the amount of light that go on in that room, it is just overwhelming.
Like you, I've also not cooked since MasterChef. Or before. And I came on Twitter for like a week because I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And then I made a sarcastic apology video that I put online that all but one online paper completely didn't get. It was Adam Pearson issues heartfelt apology after MasterChef debacle. and then Ladwivel, who I know, when Adam Pearson issues sarcastic apology for appalling MasterChef performance. And I'm like, yep, those are my people.
We know.
Love it. I performed really well on MasterChef, but no one sees the collapse that happens when I get home and that my partner needs to deal with in order to survive the next day to go and do it again. People think, surely you would have practiced that all weekend. And it's like, oh God, no, I need to practice conversations first. I need to practice lots of other coping mechanisms before the recipe, because actually the recipe is the one thing that I'm least worried about. It's difficult. I don't think I ever would have performed at my best in a show like that, but I'm really, really ruddy happy I gave it a shot, and I did pretty well. Did very well.
How does it feel to be someone who's done well on MasterChef? I would like to know.
Oh, I don't know. If I'd had a cauliflower, I'm not sure what would have happened, to be fair.
Have you ever thought of cauliflower as a substitute for chicken? This is the burning question I've got.
Definitely not. I mean, I'm not the hugest fan of chicken, to be fair, because of the texture, but I would take chicken over cauliflower any day.
It's a good job you won Mastermind, isn't it, Adam?
Yeah, and I've got another thing on the fish that I'm doing, that I'm spotting up for.
Vanessa, I think that's the ideal place to draw this in. I can't thank you enough for joining us. If people want to find out more about you, where can they do so, and how can they get in touch or follow you?
So I am the Autistic Chef on Instagram, Facebook, all things social media, TikTok, so the.autistic.chef.
We will put
links. And with that, all it's left to do is say thank you very much to Masterchef Vanessa D'Souza, and to hand back to us in the future. Take it away, us from the future. We've already mentioned it, gentlemen. Last week was the Disability Expo. How are we doing? How's the Expo blues, post-Expo blues, worn off yet?
I think I was just tired. I was quite surprised that I didn't have a hangover.
Well, some of us did. I felt like it took me about 3 or 4 days to recover. But the reason for that is because I genuinely did have a great time. Like, I had such a good time, because I was a bit nervous about meeting people that I've spoke to online. Do you know what I mean? Like, you meet people online, like social media wise, you know a lot of these people because they're doing great things, incredible things that we follow and we jump on with and we're on board with all the time. And sometimes we speak to them on the Grumpy Gits, whatever. But this was the first time for me that I've been in sort of that environment where you meet people for the first time face to face, even though you've known them for a couple of years. So, and it did not disappoint. I'm telling you, I thought it was a fantastic weekend, and actually, Jade and Alan should be really proud of themselves, because I feel like it was a booming success.
Well, no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like Martin said, it's good to meet people who you've only interacted with online, and we were all over the show, doing like loads of different bits and pieces. Chris went off and did 3 men and a console. I did a few panels. and Kira Lawrence's Pink Sparkle podcast. It was just good to meet people, catch up with our friends, make new connections, and yeah, I'm already geared up for the next one.
What I liked about it is that wherever we went in that expo on both days, for me, it never felt like I was out of place. It always felt like someone was coming up and speaking to you. And within seconds, you kind of knew that person or you've interacted with them. And that's what I loved.
Yeah, I'll give you a great example just quickly about how the expo should be summed up for me. Was that a guy came up to me in a wheelchair and he went, "Martin," and I didn't recognise who he was. And he's like, "It's me, Andrew. We used to play basketball together. We hadn't seen each other for like 15 years. I says, "Oh, what have you got there?" And he was like, "I just bought a dildo for my missus."
He had it in the bag too. He's the kind of guy you could see going home afterwards and just pulling it out for a back scratcher.
We were saying, Duncan, because we spent a lot of time walking around together. We couldn't, every sort of like 20 metres, people were stopping us.
That was awesome. It was just so good because it was all like, people would stop and say, "Hey, we've obviously seen the show and it's great." And there was just a buzz about the place and everyone was really excited to be there and really embraced it. And I think that community side of things was just so well put forward that everybody felt comfortable going, "Hey, how you doing?" no matter who you were.
Adam Pearson here, joined by slightly better Masterchef, Vanessa D'Souza, and today we're going to be making a peach and wild berry fool. Let's hope it's the only fool on stage this morning.
I feel somewhat calmer that you're here, and
Really?
you'll probably do a worse job than I will.
We're at the XL, the Disability Expo, and it has been just a blast so far.
Every aisle you walk down, and it's not just the people that you know, it's also, the smiles on everybody's faces.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk, everybody wants to get to know each other, and it's so refreshing, isn't it?
Chris Foster, I'm the co-founder of Open Book. Open Book is a platform where we celebrate and educate brands about disability inclusion.
Can dance without looking like you're being electrocuted. Thank you, you've been brilliant, and I've been disabled.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? The excitement, the people, it's just amazing to be here.
It's going extremely well. We're really pleased actually with the footfall here. There's a lot of people coming in. We're seeing a lot of people actually who are also already customers of ours, which is really, really nice. We supply wheelchairs and wheelchair add-ons for children anywhere between the ages of 0 up to the age of 25.
I think people in Wrexham Football Club feel that I've given them a voice.
And welcome to the Grumpy Gits Live!
That was pathetic. Louder!
Ryan Reynolds, Bits on the Side, Kerry Evans.
I'm loving being a guest with the Grumpy Gits. The exhibition is absolutely fantastic. Can't believe it's in its first year, to be honest. It's so professional and brings together so many people and so many experiences for people to try. It's fabulous.
You're not even disabled yet. It's just pretending.
Well, not since he's got his eyebrows done.
I was really thirsty in the middle of the night. I noticed a Coke bottle inside my brother's bed.
No.
I was like,
Oh,
get it.
God.
And he said, "Don't have to go downstairs." So I was like, I'm thirsty as hell. And then I started down it, and then I realised that is not Coke. The lazy bastard wouldn't go downstairs to go pee in the toilet. He peed in a Coke bottle and just left it.
If your brother's piss looks like Coke, he's a very unwell man.
Alex from Pods,
Kids can just go in there to relax or for a imaginative play.
why did you pick Expo? What was the draw for you?
Speak with end users. We do quite a bit of trade. You're talking to business to business, whereas this is you're actually understanding and listening to families, their stories.
Alex will actually be joining us on the Grumpy Gits and on PDA.UK. We will also be able to give away one of these to one lucky viewer, so make sure you're subscribed because it's going to be really important. Scott did not know about the Disability Expo until he saw it on the Grumpy Gits feed on Instagram, so if you're not following that, do it now.
An event like this is always nice to come and see that there is a community out there. We might be a bit more sort of spread out and have our own way of viewing things in the world, but that's why I think finding you guys through Instagram is like, oh, there is something out there, and also you guys like to take the mick a lot.
Usually out of each other, but,
Yeah.
you know.
Sometimes lucky, sometimes tricky, living with a hidden disability, being wired differently. Nothing makes sense, everything is intense, I can't breathe, the air's so dense.
Just done your session here at the main stage.
Such a privilege to be able to do this. You know, I've always dreamt about doing something like this. So for it to actually happen is incredible.
We have Duncan. Duncan is an advocate for special education needs and disabilities, an ambassador for several disability-related organizations, the loving father to an autistic daughter and husband to a neurodivergent wife, and I am told that he's also a musician and that his neighbors say that he's loud and not talented.
That's pretty much it.
And we have Chris. He's a proud father of 2 fantastic children, one being autistic. He's a self-professed avid gamer who loves hiding from his wife how much he's spending on gaming, apparently. Next we have Martin. Martin Dugan is a BBC News Round presenter, Paralympic commentator and torchbearer, wheelchair basketball, captain of the Scotland national team, winning trophies, all that stuff. We have Adam Pearson. I mean, who doesn't know Adam? Do I really need to introduce Adam here? Because the bio, Adam's bio, it can't even print on this size. And then finally we have Eva. If you don't know Eva, she was a finalist on Britain's Got Talent 2022. She's 15, she loves comedy, and she has cerebral palsy, and she's homeschooled, which is 2 things that she talks about a lot on stage. And she took the Mickey out of Simon Cowell, so we love her. I once accidentally accepted a job in Slovakia. What job was it?
Yeah, in Slovakia, there's some interesting jobs.
I once licked my brother's girlfriend's fingers whilst they were having sex.
I'm doing things like this game show in primary school, and now I just can't believe the questions.
It was literally, I thought it'd be funny. For some bizarre reason, some weird, proper, strange reason, not that a human would ever do it, it just popped in my head.
You know what, that's disgusting.
It is proper disgusting. And I thought, I'm going to sneak on my, almost like a snake, along the side. Also making a noise like a snake. Over it. And sticking out my tongue in and out as I'm going. I saw her hand on the side of the bed. I actually sucked on the thumb as well. That is the full true story, and I am ashamed of myself.
Let's find out who's done it. Whoever it is, we're never gonna look at you the same. And it's Martin!
So yeah, I mean, speaking of people who we met, it leads us nicely on to our second interview of the episode. Me and Duncan interviewed Gavin Neate from Welcome. He found us at the expo. I said at the expo, in the pub next to the expo, because that's how we roll. Told us about something he's working on, and we thought, yeah, let's get you on to have a chat. You sound like great fun. And he was great fun, was he not, Duncan Cadburn?
He was, but I think what's more is that he's somebody who really wants to make a difference. What he's put together is something that's doing that, especially when you consider that, as you'll see in the interview, he's making a difference in just how people with a disability can access simple things like, how do you speak to your MP? How is it done in a positive way? But more than that, anywhere you go, being able to know that you're prepared, or that people are prepared to understand your particular needs and adapt to them and adopt them as you come in and know where you stand. I think it's a really good thing.
So, take it away, us in the past, in 3, 2, 1. Thank you, us from the future, Adam Pearson and Duncan Cadburn from the past here, because time travel is weird. There's a hard and fast rule among drinking culture, where you don't talk about religion or politics. We at the Grumpy Gits say, fuck that, let's do politics, but do it better than Nish Kumar. Hi Nish, if you're listening. We are joined by Gavin from Welcome.
Whoa, high energy. Excellent. Yeah. Love it.
You're not used to that in your field, are you?
So Gavin is joining us from Welcome. So, first question, what is a Gavin and what does he do at Welcome?
Well, yeah, you introduced me as kind of politics, but I'm kind of not. I am an accidental entrepreneur. I was in the military for 10 years as a young chap. And at the end of my military service, I was a police dog handler. And at the end of my military service, my last posting was at RAF Lucas, which is in Fife. And just up the road from there was Guide Dogs for the Blind at Forth. So I started doing voluntary work at Guide Dogs for the Blind until eventually I was like, do you know what? I could actually become a guide dog mobility instructor and train dogs and then train people how to use them to become a mobility instructor. And that's what I eventually did. I then got really excited about technology because my clients were turning up to train with their guide dogs and they would whip out their N95 Nokia and it would speak to them. And I was like, what? This is insane. This is the future.
I remember those phones. I had one.
It was a brilliant phone.
I really loved that phone, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was the last brilliant Nokia phone, which was kind of cool, but it had speech. And then Mr. Jobs came along and went, well, let's put speech on iPhones. And then iPhone 2S suddenly had voiceover and my mind was blown learning from my clients, which was kind of cool. It was more social.
Training service animals fascinating because a lot of the non-disabled public don't get it. I was working on a film. I've got to be really careful not to mention names here. we had one of our set assistants. We had a lady who was hearing impaired, low hearing impaired. So she had a service animal. There is something about when you see a dog that makes you want to go, oh my god, oh my god.
Yes. But this is really
you can't do that with service animals because they're working. So you did it once, and the lady got quite legitimately upset with him.
Yeah, I do that with people because I'm more into people than I am dogs. So
you go up and go, "Hey, how you doing?"
I come up to you and then go, "Hello."
That was not your best first impression in a box, Gavin. Martin was livid.
Yeah, and well, they should be because they're working animals. You wouldn't dream of doing that with a police dog or a sheep dog or a mine detection dog or anything like that. There's this kind of feeling that it's kind of owned by the public because it's cute and cuddly and looks amazing, and it's normally a golden retriever and not a Rottweiler or a German Shepherd. So yeah, I can understand it, but yeah, leave them alone, guys. Admire from a distance.
The same guy, after being told not to do it, did it again. Denied it, and yeah, he was not at work on Wednesday.
I hear it all the time. People would say to me, I know I shouldn't, but... Yeah. And they would always start their conversation with, I know I shouldn't, but, and their hand was already reaching out to the dog as I was training it. And of course, that's the lives of all people with service animals. And you go, just ignore it, please, talk to me. Don't talk to the dog. I'll tell you about the dog, but talk to me.
Technology, you moved into that. And I mean, this leads into, so you're with Welcome now.
Yeah.
And you've made some pretty big strides in recent times. First of all, I mean, what is it Welcome do? How are you involved with it, and what have these strides been?
Well, it's the best question, really. Although the initial question is, why does Welcome do? So I would be with my client and I would walk into a shop, but I would be standing at a distance because I wanted to watch my client interact with staff member, and I wanted to see how well the staff member interacted with my client. And ultimately, I would go up to the staff member afterwards and I would say, oh, by the way, make sure you introduce yourself. Please don't talk to the dog. Make sure that you avoid language like it's over there. Remember the person's visually impaired, blah, blah, blah. And then I started going into shops before my client, like 5 minutes before where I could. And I would say to the staff member, oh, you're going to have somebody come in a couple of minutes time. Make sure you do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And then I connected it to the mobile phone. And I then went, well, why can't I, as a disabled person, communicate some of that important knowledge to the staff member before I walk through the door? So it doesn't have to have Gavin running around the country before blind people walking into shops. So it then became Welcome, which was a way of communicating my needs as a disabled person to the staff member before I walk through the door, but not writing it all out, but just by having a profile that triggers the training. And it became, amazingly, when we launched it, the world's first proximity-based staff training tool for disability.
It's amazing because I go in, I do a lot of inclusion training, but more on the recruitment side of things. So I'm in-house with medium to large tech companies, and it amazes me how little is known, and identifying the same mistakes keep coming up and up and up.
Always,
and the same questions keep coming up and up and up. And a lot of it, when you boil it down, for me, and I'm sure for you as well, a lot of it to us is now common sense. The idea of don't say it's over there on point to a partly sighted person. As someone like low vision myself, I totally get that. Any sort of like any like left, right, third shelf down, or next to the Jaffa cakes kind of thing. Why do you think it takes so long to get such basic access games put in place?
Well, a really good analogy for that is a parent has 3 children, and the first 2 children are learning French at school. So quite obviously, the third child is also going to learn French without having to do any classes because 2 of them already learnt it. And of course, that's just preposterous. That can't possibly happen. If you look at any shop environment where there's a high turnover of staff, there's a constant movement of staff. It's impossible to expect people to know this stuff. But even, and I love companies like Happy Smiles and Two Kind Diversity and Diversity and Ability, Sunnybank Trust, because it's disabled people teaching people, because that is the most chance you have of retaining knowledge. However, all the stats, and we have to train, there has to be induction training, but all of the stats suggest that within 24 hours of being trained with something, you've lost 75% of the information you've learned. Now, that probably increases when the information you've learned has been really high energy by somebody who's a subject matter expert, because it sticks with you for the rest of your brain and the rest of your life. But we can't expect somebody working in security or somebody working in Starbucks or somebody working even in a train station where they're getting training on a regular basis to know everything they need to know. So if we can give them something a couple of minutes before they need to know it that reminds them of the training, then we can give them the very best they could possibly have.
So by all means give it the training, but then also give them like a little nudge right before they're going to need it. So they can go,
exactly.
Aha, those little daily eureka moments.
Exactly. And then, everybody needs induction training.
And then with enough eureka moments, then it'll stick to good.
And the more people who use welcome, the more reminders people get. And I like to think of welcome as a disability access day, a disability awareness day, every time it's used. Now, we can rely on one disability awareness day, or if 10 people with a particular condition visit a particular, well, that's 10 disability awareness days set throughout the entire year.
It's almost like a trigger word. It's something that is prompting to remember the stuff that you've been trained so that you can use it more effectively for the people you're dealing with.
I used exactly that example. Do you remember the golfers would have an elastic band on their wrist?
Yeah.
And they would ping the elastic band and it would bring them back into the moment. And then they would be, focus, remember your training, all that kind of stuff. Well, it's kind of like that.
It's like neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah, you're pinging the elastic band before somebody comes in. But of course, the staff member improves as well. So they get to give good customer service.
Inclusivity and inclusion is such a buzz thing at the moment. We see it in so many places, but I think it's one of the most poorly understood things. Something like this seems to really help with, if you want to make someone included, and it avoids those awkward moments at the beginning of an introduction where you get that whole, how do I do this? And, it just sets the scene so much more readily.
It's an overly used word, I think, inclusion.
Yeah.
And a lot of companies use it to sound like they're being inclusive when a lot of the time they aren't. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance.
It's your party.
Yeah, and I'll cry if I want to.
Everyone watching is thinking that because I was.
I could see you wanting to do it, Duncan. So I just thought
I was biting my tongue because I'm a music fan. I want to ask. So, you spoke to us. Obviously, we were at Disability Expo last week, and you came and chatted to us. Through all this, you've cracked a nut, in my opinion, that is very hard to crack, but should have been cracked many moons ago. Do you want to give us a bit of detail about what that is?
No, everybody loves disruptors unless you're being disrupted. And I'm a disruptor.
Yeah.
I came up with something completely new that hadn't been done before, based on a recognition of why the system wasn't necessarily working as well as it should. So it takes time. And the other thing is, I was a guide dog mobility instructor for 18 years. And before that, I was a military police dog handler. Nothing prepared me to run a company. And then I was running a company where what I needed to do was talk to disabled people to say it's not just about complaining, it's about suggesting solutions. And that takes time. And also, I was talking to businesses and they were going, oh, yeah, no, it's our corporate social responsibility to provide services for disabled people. And they were reading off a strapline. But over the last 5 years, probably 3 years, and definitely since COVID, people have been going, no, equality, diversity, inclusion is something that we need in our DNA. It's the people who are saying we can't afford to miss out on the purple pound. There's an overused term, but we can't afford to miss out on 20% of the income that we should be getting.
Yeah.
Or more.
So many people want to be able to access the people that are supposed to be representing them, and it's so difficult. It's difficult for trying to. We told these people are running our country, and they should be open. They're working for us essentially, but it just doesn't feel that way. And I imagine that is amplified. I mean, Adam can probably testify to this. I think it's amplified for the disabled community because it's not just a case of, I can't get hold of these people. It goes beyond that. It's, I can't get in the building. I can't access the building. All right. They don't know how to treat me. They don't have any facilities for deaf people, for blind people. It creates a whole list of extra barriers that are in the way. So you've been working with the Scottish Parliament, is that right?
Yeah. So I know I would summarize what you're saying by representation.
Yeah.
Representation is of massive importance, but if you feel that everywhere you go there's a barrier to being represented, then you withdraw from that situation. One of the things when I started to come out with Welcome, and it's worth saying, Welcome is in every single environment. We're in shopping centres, airports, train stations, ferry terminals, restaurants, museums, garden centres, all over the country. But one of the things that I was so keen on addressing was representation. And representation can't be further underlined by how disabled people are represented within the politics in the country. And where that representation starts is their access to the people that represent them. Yeah. So one of the things I was beyond excited or keen about doing, and I posted a video years ago about access to polling stations, but I realized that if a disabled person can't meet their MP or their MSP, then they can't have their voice heard by somebody who's going to represent them in Parliament. And I was like, well, what if we had an opportunity to encourage disabled people to go to their MSP, because I'm in Scotland? What if we could encourage the people who weren't confident to leave home? What if we could say, your MSP is holding a surgery, but not only can you go, but you're going to be met by somebody who understands your access and your social or communication needs before you walk through the door. And those needs will be passed on to the MSP. And now the Scottish Parliament have promoted us to install Welcome in every single MSP constituency office in Scotland, the first democracy in the world to improve representation for disabled people in this way.
Scotland are taking this up. But this is open. I mean, it's not just UK-wide. This is something that can be implemented worldwide, isn't it?
Every democracy in the world and beyond. And beyond that, even further, and this is my dream, is to have this in every polling station. Nobody said they'll do it yet, but imagine turning up at a polling station and knowing that the returning officer already knows how best to meet your needs.
If people want to check out Welcome, and this is for businesses as well, isn't it? Any business or any public forum that wants to use Welcome service, how can they do so, Gavin?
Brief word about the business model. The reason it's free for all disabled people is because the business pays a monthly subscription. Yeah. So the business gets onto the platform by paying a monthly subscription. It is a very low subscription. If somebody wants to get involved, the first thing to do is go to the website, which is wel-co.me. So it's well-co.me, and that will show people the website, and the venues can contact us through there and the visitors can contact us through there. But if somebody wanted to set up a profile, because although we call it an app, it's not an app, it's actually a web app, which means you can access it from anywhere in the world and you can access it from any computer that is connected to the internet. If you go to my.well-co.me, that's my.wel-co.me, you can set up a profile, and as soon as you've set up a profile, you can see all of the venues in the world that are using the platform, and you can pick one and visit it if you should so wish.
We will put links in the description as well, so you'll be able to click directly on and head to those. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, Gavin. What you're doing is Amazing. I want to invite people as well. If you're watching, if you want feedback on this, and if you've got suggestions, I'm 100% certain Gavin would be very keen to hear your opinions and thoughts and recommendations. So please.
24 hours a day, 365 days a year. If I get an email in my inbox, I am going to respond to it.
Thanks very much, Gavin. It's been a real pleasure. I am a huge technologist as well. Bit annoyed that none of us mentioned the Nokia N-Gage as Nokia's last greatest phone. I'm just kidding. It was awful. If people want to know more about you, Gavin, or Welcome, can they find you on the old social media?
You can get me on LinkedIn. If people are using LinkedIn, it's just Gavin Neate, Neate on LinkedIn. And I love connecting to people on LinkedIn because they can see all the articles I write and stuff like that. Twitter, which is welcome_users, which is the community of disabled people that we have, or welcome_CS, which is the business side of things. Just find, you put in a search on anywhere on social media for Gavin Neate, Neate, and you will find me, track me down. And you could probably find me on Tinder as well if you want to look there.
Grindr?
not on Grindr, but as a 54-year-old middle-aged white guy, and being unsuccessful in the land of love, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to go Grindr sooner or later. Maybe don't, just to be able to get some personal interaction.
Thanks very much for coming, Gavin. We'll put all your info down in the show notes so people can get involved and be welcomed anywhere they go, irrespective of disability. But from him, Gavin Neate, from me, Adam Pearson, and from him, Duncan Casburn, it's time to throw to us back in the future. So there we go. That was Gavin Neate from Welcome. As we said, all his info will be in the show notes below. And on that, we must bid you adieu. We've come to the end of another fantastic episode of the Grumpy Gits. Give us a like, comment, subscribe, follow us on all our socials. Get in touch, get involved. We love hearing from the Grumpy Nation about your thoughts and feelings, etc. We love hearing from you. So from me, Adam Pearson, from him, Duncan Casburn, from him, Martin Dugan, and from him, Chris Lee Smith, take care. We love you, and don't be grumpy alone.